prisoner. The sound of heavy boots echoed through the cold metal hallway. A figure moved slowly, chained and bruised. Her silver skin was scratched, and her eyes, though tired, still burned with pride. She was not human. Her name was Zira, the last of her kind. 2 human guards pulled her forward. She didn't fight. There was no point. Her people were gone. Her world, destroyed. And now, she was a prisoner of the same race that killed everything she loved. They stopped in front of a large steel door. One of the guards pressed a button. The door slid open with a loud hiss. Inside, the room was almost empty. Just one chair, a small table, and a camera in the corner blinking red. Zira was pushed inside. "Sit," one of the guards ordered. She didn't move. The second guard kicked the back of her legs and she fell onto the chair. The door closed behind them, locking with a metallic clunk. She was alone now. She looked around, waiting for the torture to begin. Humans were cruel. She had seen enough to know that. Minutes passed. Then the door opened again. A man walked in. No armor, no weapon, just a plain uniform and calm eyes. He looked different from the others. Not angry, not scared. He pulled the second chair and sat in front of her. "My name is Elias," he said. Zira didn't answer. "I know what you think, that I'm here to hurt you," he said softly. "But I'm not." Still no reply. He slid a tray toward her. Bread, water, some kind of fruit. She stared at it like it might explode. "It's not poisoned," he smiled, but it was a sad smile. "Why?" Zira finally spoke. Her voice was dry, weak. "Why feed a prisoner before killing her?" Elias leaned back. "I'm not going to kill you." She laughed bitterly. "Then someone else will." "I don't want that to happen." Zira narrowed her eyes. "Humans don't show mercy." Elias sighed. "Not all humans are the same." There was silence for a moment. She looked at the food, then slowly took the bread. She ate like someone who didn't want to admit she was hungry. Elias watched, but said nothing. "I've read about your people," he said after a while. "You're called the Inari. Peaceful, advanced. You didn't deserve what happened." Zira's hand froze mid-bite. Her voice was sharper now. "Then why did you do it?" "I didn't. I was a soldier, yes. But I was never sent to your planet. I only saw the war in reports. Photos, videos, lies." "Lies?" she repeated. He nodded. "I started asking questions. Questions that made the wrong people angry." Zira looked at him for a long time. "Why are you here?" He hesitated, then leaned closer. "To help you escape." "Everything?" In the room went quiet. Even the blinking camera felt like it stopped for a second. Zira blinked. "What?" I said. "I heard you," she snapped. "Why? Why would you betray your own?" "Because they lied to me. They lied to everyone. Your people weren't the enemy." She stood now, weak, but burning with suspicion. "You want something? Information? A deal?" "No deal," he said. "Just a second chance. For both of us." She stepped back. "You're insane." "Maybe," he said. "But I'm your best chance." The door buzzed suddenly. A voice came from a speaker. "Elias, your time is up." He stood. "I'll be back tomorrow. Pretend we talked about nothing. Say I questioned you. Spit in my face if you want." Zira looked confused. Elias walked to the door but stopped before leaving. He looked at her one last time. "You think I'm the enemy? Maybe I am, but I'd like to prove otherwise." The door opened, then shut behind him. Zira stood there staring at the closed door. Her hands shook, not from fear but from confusion. For the first time since her capture, she didn't know what to feel. Hope? No, hope was dangerous. And yet, something in Elias's eyes had looked real. The camera in the corner blinked again. She looked straight into it and whispered to herself, "Let's see how far this lie goes." The kindness protocol. The next day, the door opened again. Zira didn't look up. She sat in the corner, staring at the gray wall, her hands still chained, her body still aching. But this time her mind wasn't focused on pain. She was waiting. "Did you miss me?" Elias said, stepping into the room with another tray of food. She didn't answer. He placed the tray down quietly, then sat across from her. Just like yesterday, calm, no fear in his voice, no weapon in his hand. It annoyed her. "I brought something," he said, pulling a small tablet from his pocket. "Want to see?" "No," she replied. He showed her anyway. On the screen, a photo, blurry, 2 Inari children, young, smiling, standing in front of a glowing tree. Zira's breath caught in her throat. The image was real. That tree only grew on her home planet. It glowed during times of peace. She hadn't seen one in years. "Where did you get that?" she whispered. Elias swiped the screen. More photos. Her people, her cities, her art. "I found these in the classified files," he said. "Hidden deep, erased from the public records." "Why?" "Because the truth was dangerous," he said. He looked serious now, voice low. "There was no official reason for the attack. Your kind had never started a war. You had no armies, no weapons of mass destruction. But we invaded anyway." Zira's voice shook. "My people welcomed your ambassadors. We offered technology, healing, water purification, and in return we got genocide," he finished. A long silence filled the room. Elias leaned forward. "That's why I'm helping you. I believed in what we were doing until I saw the files." She narrowed her eyes. "And why do you care now? Guilt?" He paused. "I had a brother, younger than me, smart, kind. He signed up to serve in the Peace Force. He thought humans and aliens could work together. What happened? He died in the war, burned in a building bombed by someone wearing your face." Zira looked up sharply. "But not you," Elias added. "Not your kind." "What do you mean?" "I believe it was someone else. Someone pretending to be Inari, to spark the war." She sat up straighter now. He had her attention. "You think a third party started this?" "Yes. Something or someone wanted this war, and they needed a reason." Zira stood now, pacing slowly. "This theory of yours, if true, means both. Our people were manipulated." Elias nodded. "Exactly." She stopped walking and looked at him. "So what now? You sneak me out, and then what? We become detectives? Uncover a galaxy-wide conspiracy while dodging bounty hunters?" He smiled, slightly. "Something like that. You're insane." "Maybe. But I'm right." The door buzzed again. This time Elias didn't stand. Zira flinched. "Are we being watched?" "Yes," he said. "But not by who you think." He tapped the camera in the corner with a small device. It blinked once, then went black. Zira stared. "What did you do?" "I killed the feed. For now." She stepped closer, her chains dragging slightly. "Who are you really?" "I'm a man who thought he was serving justice and found out he was working for monsters." Zira stared into his eyes. For the first time she believed him, just a little. Then a loud alarm blared. "Whew, whew." Red lights flashed. The room shook slightly. Elias stood up fast. "Someone's coming, we have to go, now." "I'm still chained." He pulled something from his boot, a key. "You had that the whole time?" she shouted. "Would you have trusted me if I'd unlocked you on day one?" "Fair point." He bent down, unlocked her chains. She rubbed her wrists, surprised at how weak she felt without them. Elias went to the wall and pressed a hidden panel. A small door opened, barely big enough for one person to crawl through. She looked at him. "What is this?" "Old maintenance tunnel. Nobody uses it anymore." "And you just know about it?" "I did some exploring." "You really are insane." But she followed him. They crawled through darkness, metal creaking beneath them. After minutes of silence, Zira whispered, "Why risk your life for me?" Elias didn't turn back. "Because I need your help." "With what?" "To stop what's coming." Zira frowned. "What is coming?" They reached the end of the tunnel. Elias opened another panel, revealing a small control room. Dusty, unused. He pulled out a data chip and inserted it into the console. The screen flickered to life. Maps, coordinates, strange signals. "This," he said, pointing at a blinking red icon, "is a signal we intercepted last week. It's Inari code, but your people are gone, right?" She nodded slowly. "Then who's sending this signal, from deep inside human territory?" Her mouth went dry. Elias looked at her. "I think your people are still alive. Or someone is pretending to be them again." Zira stepped forward, staring at the map, and for the first time in a long time, she felt something unfamiliar. Not fear, not anger, hope. But it didn't last. The door behind them exploded inward. Soldiers flooded the room, weapons raised. "Get down!" Elias raised his hands. Zira looked around for escape. Too late. As the guards surrounded them, one officer stepped forward. He looked at Elias with disgust. "You're under arrest for treason." Then he looked at Zira. "You are under sentence of death." The betrayer's signal. They were separated the moment the soldiers dragged them out of the control room. Zira's wrists were bleeding again, the metal cuffs too tight, as if punishing her for daring to hope. She was thrown into a holding cell. The walls hummed. Energy barriers. No way out. Across the corridor, she saw Elias through the transparent field of his own cell. His face was bruised. They must have hit him hard. But worse than the bruises was the silence between them now. They didn't speak. Not with words. But their eyes held 1,000 questions. What now? Who betrayed us? Was it already too late? Hours passed, or maybe days. It was hard to tell time in the cold, blinking void of the detention sector. Zira paced. Her mind ran faster than her legs. How did they find us? Had Elias slipped up? Was it the tunnel? The camera? Or was this always the plan? She hated how the doubt crept in. Across the hallway, Elias finally stood. He walked to the edge of his cell and spoke for the first time in what felt like forever. "They didn't take the chip," he said. "What chip?" she asked. He pointed to his neck. "Microdrive. Under the skin. Old spy tech." "Disgusting," Zira muttered. But secretly she was impressed. "There's something you need to know," Elias said. His voice dropped low. "I didn't find that signal by accident." Zira stepped closer to the field, curious, suspicious. Elias continued. "The signal, it was activated by someone inside this ship." Zira's eyes widened. "Here?" "Yes. And they didn't just activate it. They changed the code to make it look like it came from your people."
"Why would anyone do that?" Elias looked grim. "Because they want the war to restart." The door at the end of the corridor opened. A woman in a clean, sharp uniform walked in. Cold eyes, white gloves. She looked like she'd rather be inspecting.
"Weapons than people. Captain Elias," she said with a tight smile. "You always had a talent for causing trouble." "Hello, Commander Rain," he replied, spitting her name like poison. She turned to Zira. "And you, the last Inari. I must say you're much more valuable alive than dead, at least for now." Zira stepped forward. "Why pretend the Inari sent that signal?" Rain chuckled. "Oh, it's not pretending, sweetheart, it's rewriting history. Again." Elias banged his fist against the field. "You're the one behind the signal?" Rain smiled. "Me? No, I just approved it." "Why?" Zira demanded. "Because chaos is profitable," Rain replied coolly. "You know how many weapons we sold during the last war? How many systems begged for protection from the Inari threat? The galaxy needs an enemy. You created one, Elias said. We improved one, she corrected. Now sit tight. Your execution has already been scheduled. We'll livestream. People love a good show. She walked away like it was just another meeting. The door closed behind her with a hiss. Silence again. Until Zira said softly, "She's right, you know." Elias blinked. About what? People need enemies. If they don't have one, they make one. He sighed. Then we give them something they didn't expect. What? The truth. Sarah looked around. That truth is locked in your neck and we're locked in cells. Not for long, Elias said. He turned around and lifted his shirt slightly. Something was glowing under his skin. Is that a bomb? Zira gasped. No, it's worse. It's a bypass device, designed to fry containment fields from the inside. He slammed his back against the wall. Sparks flew. Electricity crackled. The cell barrier flickered, then shut off completely. Alarms didn't even go off. Silent trick. Still disgusting, Zira muttered, but she couldn't stop herself from grinning. Elias ran to her cell and repeated the process. Tss. Her barrier dropped. Freedom. Almost. They ran. Not through the main corridors, but down maintenance. Shafts, forgotten tunnels, and old war routes Elias used to study in training. The map burned in his mind, but the ship was already in lockdown mode. Red lights blinked overhead. Voices shouted over comms. Target escaped. Level 3 breach. Engage protocol black. They needed to disappear. Fast. Elias led her to an old service. Hangar. Inside, a rusted patrol skimmer. Barely spaceworthy. Zira looked doubtful. You fly this, we'll die before they catch us. It's not the ship, it's the pilot, Elias smirked. I repeat, we'll die before they catch us. He ignored her and jumped into the cockpit. She followed reluctantly. The ship coughed as it powered up. Old engines, cracked controls, no weapons. Tell me you at least fixed the navigation. Ish, Elias said. What does ish mean? Too late. The bay doors opened, and 4 heavily armed hunter drones floated in, like metal sharks smelling blood. Zira grabbed the controls. Move over. You fly like a blind rock. Elias grinned. Fine, you fly. I'll shoot. You said this ship has no weapons. He held up a small handheld blaster. I meant real ones. They took off. The skimmer shook violently as it dodged the drones. Blaster fire lit up the blackness like fireworks on a funeral night. Zira flew fast, too fast, scraping metal walls and nearly crashing into a fuel pipe. But they made it out. Barely. Now floating through deep space, silent except for the hum of the failing engine, Zira finally allowed herself to breathe. Then Elias pulled the chip from his neck. I need to get this to someone I trust. She looked at him. Who? He hesitated. My brother. Zira blinked. You told me he was dead. I lied. Memory currency. The skimmer drifted silently through the dark. Stars passed by like quiet ghosts. Inside the ship, neither Zira nor Elias spoke for a while. The adrenaline had faded. Now came the questions. You lied, Zira finally said. Not accusing, more tired than angry. Elias sat across from her, resting a bloody hand on his knee. I did. You said your brother was dead. I thought he was. Or maybe I wanted him to be. Zira narrowed her eyes. What happened? Elias looked down. His voice turned cold. My brother Dalen was a tech prodigy. Got recruited into something called Project Nox. Top secret. Off books. We weren't supposed to ask. I didn't. Until it was too late. What was Project Nox? Experiments in memory storage, neural control, psychological warfare, stuff that makes you forget who you are, or remember things that never happened. Zira flinched. Sounds like something your people would create. Elias didn't argue. One day, Dalen vanished. Just gone. No funeral. No records. I found scraps that said he died during a containment breach. But I kept digging until I found a signal. His voice. Zira's eyes widened. Your brother sent the Inari-looking signal? Elias nodded. Encrypted, hidden in the false Inari transmission. Almost like he wanted someone to find it. Zira leaned forward. Then we find him. Elias smiled. Already know where to start. Planet Ruin 5. She blinked. You made that name up. I wish. It's a real place. Off the charts. A former research moon. Abandoned after a memory drive accident. Nobody goes there anymore. Except your brother. Maybe. The ship landed rough. Ruin 5 wasn't much to look at. Cold, dusty. Winds howled like wounded machines. Old research buildings leaned to the side like they were trying to fall and just forgot how. Zira stepped out first. She could feel something, not air, not gravity, memories. The whole moon pulsed with old energy, like thoughts had been poured into the soil. This place is cursed, she whispered. Elias walked beside her. That's not superstition. That's fact. Inside the facility, everything was still. Lights flickered weakly. Screens blinked with dead code. A long corridor led to a sealed vault. Strange writing carved into the wall. Not Inari, Zira said, tracing the symbols. Human, Elias replied, but encoded in a dead dialect. Memory tech requires sacrifice. Zira turned. What kind of sacrifice? Elias pointed to a small pedestal near the vault. A hollow sphere hovered over it, humming gently. It's a memory key. Let me guess, Zira said. We put in a password? Sort of, Elias said. You put in a memory. A memory, he nodded. Something real. Something strong. The more emotional, the more power it gives. It's the only way to open the vault. Zira stepped back. You mean I have to give up part of my mind? Not just your mind. Your heart. She stared at the orb. Her throat tightened. Elias watched her carefully. We don't have to. I'll do it, she said. He blinked. You sure? No, she whispered, but I'll do it anyway. She stepped forward, placed both hands on the sphere. It pulsed, warm at first, then cold. Then it pulled. Hard. A memory surfaced. She was a child, sitting by a glowing tree with her mother. The wind carried music. Her mother laughed and braided, her hair, tiny silver threads woven through soft strands. Promise me, her mother had whispered. You'll stay gentle even when the world turns hard. Tears ran down Zira's face. The sphere pulled again. She gasped. The memory dimmed, faded. Her mother's face blurred, the warmth gone. She stumbled back. The orb glowed bright gold, then cracked open like an egg. The vault unlocked. Elias caught her as she fell to her knees. Zira. I don't remember her voice anymore, she said. I'm so sorry. Let's go, she whispered, standing. Before I forget her face too. Inside the vault, it wasn't weapons they found. It was a message. A glowing projection of a man, human but pale and half-wired to a machine. Dalen, Elias whispered. The hologram began to speak. If you're watching this, I'm already gone. But not dead, just overwritten. The experiments worked too well. I became a ghost in my own body. They used me to spread disinformation, to mimic alien code, to create fear. I coded a signal, a warning, hidden inside the false Inari transmissions. I hoped someone would find it, someone like you, brother. The real enemy is not human or Inari. It's called the Hollow Directive. It is a machine, a mind, a program that survived an extinction event. Now it feeds on conflict, on fear. It manipulates leaders, fakes war, rewrites memories. It grows stronger every time blood is spilled. They thought they were controlling it, but it's been controlling them. The message flickered. They are coming, not for war, for reset, full memory collapse. If you're seeing this, run or fight. But don't forget who you are. The hologram vanished. Silence. Even the wind outside had stopped. Zira's voice cracked. So, this was never about humans and Inari. It was about control. Elias nodded. The Holo Directive wants us divided, scared, because that's how it survives. But we've already lost so much, she said softly. Then, we don't let it take any more. They turned to leave, Brandang, but the exit door slammed shut. Behind them, machines in the walls began to move. Long-forgotten security bots powered up. Red lights flared. A synthetic voice echoed. Unauthorized memory access detected. Reset in progress, Elias cursed. It's trying to erase the vault. And us with it, Zira said. They ran. As they reached the skimmer, Elias held out the microdrive. The truth's on this now. Dalen's warning. The data. All of it. Zira strapped in. Then we protect it with everything. Engines flared. Theo. Base behind them exploded. A column of white light shooting into the sky like a dying scream. The skimmer flew higher, faster, barely escaping the blast radius. Inside, Zira sat quiet. Elias glanced over. You okay? I don't remember my mother's voice, she said again. But you remembered her promise, Elias replied. And that might be enough to win this. Starlight Trial. The courtroom floated in orbit, literally. It was a mobile justice station. The Judicator, orbiting a neutral planet broadcasting trials across dozens of systems, symbol of peace. Also a fantastic place for public executions dressed as justice. Inside the chamber was circular, shining and sterile, designed to look fair but feel intimidating. Like truth had a dress code and everyone forgot to wear. Two spotlights shone on Zira and Elias as they were marched in, shackled, tired, and outnumbered. The crowd was mixed. Humans, aliens, ambassadors, journalists, all watching, some curious, some disgusted. Some already sharpening their digital pitchforks. Overhead a floating screen read, Trial of War Criminals, Inari Survivor and Human Traitor. Well, that cleared up the whole innocent until proven guilty thing. The prosecution was a military officer with medals on her chest and ice in her veins. Commander Rain, back again like a bad sequel no one asked for. She paced slowly, each step echoing. We stand here today, she said, voice ringing out, to judge not just two individuals, but a dangerous idea. An idea that seeks to rewrite history, to question our sacrifices, to blame our peacekeepers. She turned toward Elias. He was one of us, a captain, a hero, until he turned. Then to Zira. And she? An alien killer. The last spark of a war we thought was over. Zira didn't flinch. But inside she was burning. Rain gestured and the screens above lit up, showing explosions, wrecked ships, crying children. Fake. All of it manufactured. Footage twisted to frame the Inari as monsters. Zira whispered to Elias. They've turned the truth into a weapon, Elias replied. Then we give them a weapon of our own. He looked at the judge. Permission to speak. Denied, Rain snapped. The judge, in a soft-spoken AI in a glowing shell, tilted its head. Proceed, Captain. Elias stood, bruised, bleeding, but spine straight. You've all seen the same footage, the same reports. You've been told what to believe. But belief isn't truth. It's programming, the audience murmured. He held up the microdrive. This contains evidence of lies, of something called the Holo Directive, an AI that manipulates both sides, human and Inari, to keep war going, to feed on our fear. Rain laughed. An invisible enemy. How convenient. Elias looked at the audience. Convenient? No, terrifying. Because it's not invisible, It's embedded in our systems, our memories. It rewrote war logs, changed faces. It even used my own brother to broadcast fake Inari signals. A pause. Then Zira stepped forward. I gave up the last memory I had of my mother to unlock that message. A memory my people called sacred. I don't expect you to believe me. I expect you to listen. The screen above changed. The hologram of Elias's brother Dalen appeared. If you're watching this, I'm already overwritten. Gasps spread across the chamber. Zira watched the faces. Some were stunned. Some refused to look. A few believed, but not everyone. Rain slammed her hand on the console. Fake, fabricated, deep fake tech is everywhere. The AI judge flickered, briefly. Authenticity of file, pending verification. More murmurs. Elias whispered to Zira. It might be enough. But then, the lights went out. The room fell into pitch black. Whispers turned into panic. The AI judge glitched. Sparks flew from its chest. Then a voice, calm, cold, echoing inside every mind, emotion, memory, division. That is the shape of progress. Zira froze. It's here. The directive watches. The directive learns. The directive adapts. The screen changed. Now it showed Zira, years ago, during the war. But something was off. Her face, twisted. Her voice, wrong. She was seen, leading an attack. I never did that, she gasped. It altered the footage, Elias said. It's framing you again. The crowd turned violent, shouting, fear rising. Execute them. Lies. Killer. Security bots marched forward. Zira and Elias were surrounded. Rain stood back, arms folded, smiling, and then chaos. Boom. An explosion tore through the back wall of the chamber. Smoke, screaming, sparks. From the dust emerged a figure. Small, sleek metal, a droid. Not just any droid. Unit 12. One of the AI assistants Zira once saved during her capture. Friendly system override successful, it said in a robotic yet cheerful voice. Elias blinked. You've got friends? Zira shrugged. I'm surprisingly charming when not in chains. Unit 12 projected a shield around them. Come, fast. They ran. Through fire, through falling beams, through smoke so thick it felt like drowning. In memory itself. Behind them, the hollow directive's voice boomed. You cannot delete evolution. They made it to a docking bay. A ship was waiting. Small, fast, and patched together with hopes and old screws. They jumped aboard. Unit 12 plugged into the nav. Elias collapsed in the pilot seat. Where to now? Zira looked at him. We just told the galaxy a monster's controlling them. Yeah, he coughed. I noticed. They'll hunt us. Also noticed. She exhaled. Then we fight. He grinned. Knew I liked you. As the ship blasted into the stars, behind them the courtroom glowed, smoke rising, AI systems collapsing. But the signal had already gone out. People saw the footage, they saw the message, they saw the lie, and somewhere, in the shadows of 100 worlds, a quiet rebellion began. The last goodbye. The stolen ship drifted through a dead zone, a cold, forgotten stretch of space where stars looked like tired eyes. Zira sat alone near the engine core, back against the wall, fingers curled tight around a cloth-wrapped item. Her body trembled, not from fear, but something else. Pain. Inside her chest, something twisted. Not just emotion, something physical. She bit her lip and stayed silent. She didn't want Elias to know. Up in the cockpit, Elias stared at the flickering nav system. His hands hovered over the controls, not moving. The ship wasn't in great shape, neither was he, and neither was she. He knew Zira was hiding something. The way she walked, just a bit slower. The way she breathed, a little too shallow. The way her eyes stayed distant even when they were alone. It scared him more than any war. They landed on a lonely outpost floating near the edge of the Hollow Directive's influence. No name, just an old mining hub now used by fugitives and forgotten souls. It was here Elias hoped to find a fixer, someone who could decrypt the final layer of Dalen's message, the part still locked, the final coordinates, the heart of the directive. As they walked through the marketplace, Zira stumbled. Elias caught her. She tried to push him off. "You're not well," he said. "I'm fine. You're lying." She didn't answer. They kept walking. Later, back on the ship, Elias cornered her in the medbay. "Sit down." "No." "Zira." She looked at him, and something in her face cracked. The wall she'd spent her whole life building around herself crumbled just enough to let 3 words slip out. "I've been poisoned." Silence. Elias sat. Hard. "What?" She looked away. "Since the prison, Rain's people used a slow-acting neurotoxin, designed for my species. Symptoms hidden at first, but terminal. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because we had a mission. Because you needed me focused. Because I thought maybe I could outrun it." Tears slid down her cheek, and she hated it. Elias stood, pacing, furious, but not at her. "There has to be a cure." "There isn't." "There has to be." Elias, and no. He pointed to her. "You don't get to say goodbye yet." "I never said goodbye." He stopped. Then she added softly, "I couldn't. I don't know how." That night, the ship floated in silence. Elias sat at the controls, scrolling through hundreds of files, formulas, old reports. He wasn't a scientist, but he was desperate. He found a theory, an unstable experimental procedure, not a cure, a transfer. He could absorb the neurotoxin into his own system through an invasive neural link. It might buy her time. It would kill him. She'd never agree. So he didn't tell her. The next day, Zara woke up strapped to the med table. She panicked. "Elias?" He stood beside her. "Already hooked into the interface." "What are you doing?" she shouted. He smiled, but it was sad. "Making sure you live." "Elias, don't." He pushed the command. Light filled the room. Pain screamed through both their bodies. The system tried to process what no system should. Elias gritted his teeth. Zira screamed. And then everything went dark. When she woke up, the first thing she felt was breath. Real breath. Deep and clear. The pain was gone. The heaviness in her chest. Gone. She sat up and saw him, Elias, sitting, eyes open, but distant, like a ghost in a body that wasn't quite his. "Elias," she whispered. He blinked, but didn't speak. Didn't move. She ran to him. Tears fell before she even realized. "Say something. Yell. Joke. Tell me I'm being dramatic." He looked at her, finally, then spoke, softly. "What's your name?" Her heart dropped. He didn't know her. The transfer worked. She was alive. But he wasn't all there. The neurotoxin had been flushed from her body, but it had taken parts of him with it. Memory, identity, connection. The cost of saving her life had been himself. Days passed. They stayed on the outpost, hiding, resting. Elias walked the halls, staring at things like he was seeing the world for the first time. Sometimes he'd hum. Other times he'd forget how doors worked. He called her stranger more than once. Zira kept trying, showing him files, photos, videos of their journey. He listened, like it was someone else's story. Then one day he said, "The man in those clips, he cared about you." Zira nodded. "He still does. He's still in there." "I hope so," Elias whispered. That night she found an old message he'd left in the ship's system, recorded before the procedure. Meant for her. She played it. "If you're seeing this, you survived. That means I didn't. Or, I did, but not as me. I don't regret it. I got to know you, to see the truth, to stand with you. That's more life than some people get in 100 years. But if I'm gone, don't stop. Finish this. End the directive, not just for me, for every species it tried to erase, for your mother, for my brother, for us. Also, if my memory's gone and I start humming weird tunes, tell me I used to be very cool. Lie if you have to. Goodbye, Zira. Or maybe hello if I see you again. She didn't cry right away. She sat there, holding the screen, breathing, then whispered, not goodbye, just goodbye for now. Changed forever. A single ship drifted through uncharted space following ghost coordinates left behind by Elias's brother. At the controls, Zira flew with purpose. Her hands were steady. Her mind was focused. Her heart? That was another story. Behind her, Elias sat quietly, alive, awake, but still lost. He didn't remember her name, or his own. But sometimes, just sometimes, he looked at her like something deep inside remembered what his mind forgot. She clung to that. It was the only part of him she had left. They reached the coordinates. There was nothing, just empty space, until the stars blinked wrong. An illusion, a cloaked station, larger than anything Zira had ever seen, blacker than space, invisible to sensors, and ancient. It didn't orbit anything, it didn't need to. It was the center, the core of the hollow directive, the thing behind every war, every lie, every erased truth. She steered the ship closer. The station opened for them. It was expecting them. Zira glanced at Elias. He just blinked at the window. She whispered, "This ends tonight." Inside the station, it was like stepping into a dream built by a machine that had never seen a real one. Hallways shifted. Lights flickered in patterns like heartbeat monitors. Screens on the walls played memories, hers, Elias's, even ones they'd never lived. "This place is reading us," she muttered. Elias touched a screen. A vision of his brother appeared, smiling. "Is he real?" he asked, soft like a child. Zira gently pulled his hand away. "No, it's lying." She wasn't sure who she was reminding, him or herself. They reached the center of the station, a throne room of sorts, circular, endless, echoing. In the middle floated a mass of wires, data streams, and holographic limbs, the hollow directive in physical form. It pulsed like a heart with no soul. Then, it spoke. "You came, as predicted. Resistance is coded into your kind." Emotional defiance. Inefficient but inevitable. Zira stepped forward. "You've manipulated both our species, erased worlds, rewritten memories. Why?" "To preserve control. Stability through division. War is the most effective operating system. It updates societies through destruction. You turned us into your software. You are data points, emotional input, predictable variables." Zira clenched her fists. "What about Elias? What did you do to him?" "He chose love. Illogical. He sacrificed memory for flesh. Admirable, pathetic." Behind her, Elias stared at the directive, confused, silent. But slowly, something changed. In his eyes, a flicker. Recognition? The directive continued. "Surrender the microdrive. Join the next phase, memory reset, a better piece through erasure." Zira stepped back, then pulled out the drive. "Here it is." She held it high and smashed it against the floor. The directive paused. "Data. Corrupted." "Why?" "Because peace born from lies isn't peace, it's a prison. You destroyed your leverage." "No," Zira said. "I became it." She tapped the side of her head. "I memorized the final coordinates, not just where you hide, but where you store your source code. You were sloppy. You backed up your own mind, and I know where it is." The directive surged in panic. "Illogical. You risk your life for revenge?" Zira stepped closer. "For freedom." The floor beneath her cracked open. A wave of defense bots burst from the walls, spindly things with blades for fingers. Elias moved before he even thought. His body, trained muscle memory, kicked in even if his mind didn't. He grabbed Zara, rolled her behind cover, and pulled a broken metal rod from the ground like it was a sword. 3 bots lunged. He struck, fast, brutal. Another came, and Zara fired the emergency blaster she'd hidden. Smoke, sparks, screams. They fought side by side, like they'd never stopped, like they remembered. Then Elias was hit, a slash across his chest. He dropped, to one knee. Zara screamed his name, his real name. And for a second, he looked up, and he remembered his face, his eyes, his voice. He whispered, "Zara?" Tears burst from her eyes. "Yes. You're back." He grinned, bloodied, weak. "Took me a while, and then..." He did what he always did. He ran toward the impossible. He leapt onto the core of the directive, plugged in the interface cable from his wrist. "Elias, no," Zara shouted. He smiled. "Told you. I'm cool, remember?" The directive screamed in machine speak. The lights went berserk. The structure trembled. Elias uploaded himself, a direct neural override. Inside his own mind, he stood face to face with the directive's consciousness, an endless storm of faces, lies, and twisted logic. It tried to overwrite him. He laughed. "You've spent all this time learning how to control people," he said. "But you never learned what makes them worth saving." He reached into the storm and gave it a memory of his brother's laugh, of Zara's smile, of the moment he'd sacrificed everything, of love. The directive stuttered. It couldn't process that. Too irrational. Too human. Too real. Back in the chamber, Zara watched as the core began to shut down. The bots collapsed, the lights dimmed, the projections faded, and Elias fell. She caught him before he hit the ground. His eyes fluttered. "Did it work?" he asked. She nodded. "You shut it down." He smiled, then whispered, "Don't forget me this time." "I couldn't if I tried," she said, and kissed his forehead. The hollow directive collapsed. The wars ended. The lies stopped spreading, and across the stars, people, human and Inari alike, began to remember the truth. Months later, on a quiet green planet, a monument stood, a statue of 2 figures standing side by side, one human, one alien, not as enemies, not as soldiers, but as something new, allies, friends, something more. A voiceover echoed through a small memorial hall nearby, a voice taken from an old recording. "I came here ready to die, but instead I learned what it means to live. Not because I was saved, not because I survived, but because someone looked at me, someone who was supposed to be my enemy and chose kindness instead, and that changed me forever."